I'm an independent candidate, and with the Longhouse Coalition. The Longhouse is a traditional gathering place of the Iroquois nation, and I was asked to run for Congress with this platform, and by a man who lives up in Delaware. So.
What's in the name? This is an important name, and I hope you all remember it. Carol Petersen with an E. She's a write-in candidate with the Longhouse Coalition for Jerry Lewis's seat. Jerry Lewis is one of those notorious representatives that has voted against defunding the DEA's beating up medical marijuana patients already. I mean, how can they be funding that? In any case, here's somebody to stand up. Carol Petersen. You need to know this name because when you vote for her, you have to write in Carol Petersen. That's C-A-R-O-L, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to write it on the ballot.
So this is great. We've got a write-in candidate. I can't believe it. So tell us about how the Longhouse Coalition looks upon medical marijuana and herbal medicine in general.
It actually favors it. It's one of the points on the coalition, so it fits in perfectly for all of us. It's about dignity, actually. I feel the coalition is claiming to give all our voters back civil liberties in the pursuit of happiness.
You mentioned that. Your platform starts out with two statements in the pursuit of happiness.
That's what I always talk about because I'm kind of fed up with all of this, that we need to be afraid of everybody, in particular people of culture, and what are Americans? Who are Americans? There are so many, we're diverse people for God's sake. And I myself, I'm a daughter of an immigrant mother who came from Central America, from Nicaragua. And so we have the scars in our family from acts of terrorism imposed upon
Does the Longhouse Coalition cross the Americas? Are there native peoples throughout the Americas that are a part of this or participate?
Not at this point, but I have gone down to Bolivia and I attended native Aymara Evo Morales' spiritual ceremony prior to his inauguration. And so that was a big coup for the people.
Wow, no kidding. That was an amazing thing.
It was an amazing thing. I actually passed the eagle feather to meet with the Apu Malku, which means the great condor. So on behalf of all the native nations of Turtle Island, when they announced me, they said I was from the United States, and I had over 200,000 people boo. And it was very humbling for me. And when I climbed those pyramidal steps and was handed the microphone, I did have an interpreter. I said that I am the voice of the eagle, the heart of the bear, and the strength of the buffalo nations. And it was a big transformation that had happened with all the people, and it was filmed on CNN Latin Live. So my council members down in Argentina saw me on television, and because I had passed that eagle feather to join in solidarity spiritually all native people of Abya Yala, which is a Kuna word, a traditional word from Panama that means never been broken.
This just happened last year.
It happened in January.
This year?
It happened this year in January.
But the president of Bolivia, could you go on and explain this a little bit? This is an amazing thing that happened here on the South American continent.
The corporations, Bechtel, which is out of San Francisco, and connected to Suarez, and it's a French Itinay. I don't know, not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. In France, had privatized the water and the natural gas from the native people, and they overthrew those corporations and kicked them out of Bolivia. They did. They organized themselves. they organized themselves, and that's historical right there, because they elected Evo Morales, who has no education at all, basically, and he arose in that movement from just community, one community at a time, and it's very interesting because it creates an affinity with the medical marijuana issue here in the United States, because he too says, if you don't respect our sacred plant, the coca plant, then get the hell out of Bolivia. And there are immense, a wealth of studies right now for the use of the coca leaf for medicinal purposes that have been done.
As it was used back in the century before the last all the time. It was a regular medication. It did wonderful things. This is just ridiculous, the way in which all of this idiocy is going around healing people. And that's what you're standing up for against Jerry Lewis in this. Tell us about what you're going to do if you get elected.
Well, I put it this way. I'm discovering the district, first of all, which is a very big, diverse area. And here in the deserts, the ecosystem is fragile, and the people who live here want their night skies, and they want a say on the development here, and they want to protect the lands. And then we've got Big Bear, and they're pretty upset about chemicals being sprayed on their ski slopes to create snow. And then we've got, the global warming issue. So I have this my caring for my district is very broad right now, and I would like to create a disaster prevention based on a citywide community development, creating a food bank or something like that, because if this big one does happen, Beaumont and Banning and all those cities down there in the lower lip of the San Andreas Fault are all going to come up and pass through the gateway, and we're going to all of a sudden be flooded with all kinds of people. So if I can...
looks pretty inevitable anyway.
It's pretty inevitable that it could happen right now. So, that's the broader view, and then I want to chunk down to community issues at hand and what people in the different cities, what their issues are, and represent them in a compassionate, common sense way.
Isn't that great? That's exactly what we need in government. If you were elected to Congress, couldn't Congress just pass a law and tell the federal government to reclassify medical marijuana?
Well, what I heard earlier was that California is pretty...
We've already, within the state, but we have a problem with the federal government. Usually most medical marijuana raids aren't by state officers, somewhat, especially where there aren't ID cards and where there isn't good advocacy. But the federal government's the ones that come in and break down your door.
I certainly should be able to find out what's holding it up and then report back very clearly what is the steps to take in order to achieve the success of this
But right now,
issue
I'd just
here.
like to see a bill introduced in Congress that said marijuana is Schedule II, even. I mean, I'd really like to see it be completely. I believe in patent medicine. Everybody should be able to take anything they want as long as it's labeled properly, and that's all the government has to do, is just make sure that what we get is what it says it is. How do you feel about that?
I feel clear and strong about it. It's a green light for me.
Okay, good. Well, let's get that changed so that we can take care of ourselves and not have all of these bureaucracies on our back. But thanks a lot, folks. Thank you. Give us the name again so
The
they can write.
Longhouse Coalition.
And your name so they can
And
write
my name
it down.
is Carol Petersen. It's with an S-E-N, just Carol, C-A-R-O-L, and you have to write my name on the ballot.
And let's surprise them and get her elected. That would be pretty neat. Thanks a lot, folks.